Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead, and welcome to episode 4 of our limited series, Real Life Sabbatical. So in these episodes, I'm capturing week by week, sort of, might be maybe every couple of weeks, episodes about how I'm actually doing a sabbatical, what I'm thinking about, what I'm writing about, how I'm managing my time. As a recap, if you never listened to the other episodes, this particular semester, I'm a visiting scholar in project narrative at Ohio State University, and I'm working on a project of collecting faculty interviews where they use narrative to talk about their writing processes. Initially, I was thinking this would be about their processes in general, but my thinking's already sort of shifted to thinking about having them talk about their project management systems and the narratives about those, since that's going to be my next book, and I'm interested in that. So what I'm doing in these episodes, also as a recap, is just trying to show some of the logistics of making this happen. So I am at a comprehensive university where I could potentially travel somewhere else, but I'm also a mom with school-age children still. I can't disappear for a semester or a year and live somewhere else, go somewhere else. So I'm a little bit limited in terms of where I can have a sabbatical. And Ohio State, in relation to me, is something fairly easy for me to go to back and forth in one day. It's not super close, but it's under 2 hours. So it's definitely doable. And I'm able to get down there a couple of times a week. And so that was a really good choice for me. It's also one of the largest research libraries in my area. The other one is University of Michigan. So I'm kind of between the two. And so the episodes really talk about things like, what did I do to get to that point? How did I manage interruptions? What was, the first day on campus like, and so on. And so that's how I'm going to go for the rest of these episodes, is just kind of capture all sorts of things about it. So hopefully, if you're interested in taking a sabbatical, seeing this little bit insider look about what it looks like is useful. And so what I'm doing in this particular episode is I wanted to talk about planning for my first real day on campus. I know I talked about my first actual day on campus in episode 2, I believe, and that was more about the logistics. What does that look like when you just go there and get keys and figure out all the things to actually make it happen? But what I'm doing in this episode is I want to talk about how I'm going to think through very deliberately the times that I get to go. This hasn't been always the case. I have done one other semester, but also one other sabbatical at Ohio State. And I've also done one at the Harvard Center for Hellenic Studies, and done some research for a sabbatical there. And I know I haven't been quite as intentional on actually planning my time, but now I've really committed to making a plan for what I'm going to do for the days that I'm on campus. So that way, I don't feel like I'm wasting any time, but also anything that needs to happen, I'm making sure I'm taking care of it on the, say 2 days that I'm on campus during the week. So what I'm going to do is show a screen of how I decided to do this planning. There's a couple of different places where I might store a plan like this. I've mentioned before, and I actually have a visual aid for anybody on YouTube today, but I have like a hardback planner where I write week. I also use Outlook just for meetings and all that kind of stuff. But Penzu has been kind of my go-to for just having a spot to store notes on things in a way that it looks like it actually is a Word document. I don't know why this clicks with me, but Penzu is a tool I've talked about on the podcast a lot. I will link to an episode about why I love it so much. But what's on screen right now for people that are just listening to audio only is I made a document, or a new note. It's a sabbatical plan, February 15th, because that's the day that I'll be going. And on it, I have a couple of different things. One, I have a list of technical things that I have to do before I leave. So 2 things I haven't done. I needed to do these, and I definitely need to do them before I go tomorrow. One is to make sure that my Ohio State email works. I had one before the last time I was there, so I'm supposed to make sure that I can get into it. And the other one is to find my old Ohio State ID. I know where it is, I think, in my house, but I need to go and see if I could dig one up, because if I don't have it, I have to go get another ID tomorrow. So those are 2 things that I know have to happen. But then I also made a section on this note because it really looks like a Word document. It has all the functions like bolding and italicizing and things like that. I can change my font, all that. But on this note, then I have my schedule. And so my loose schedule is thinking that once I get there, so I drop a child off at school and then I drive down there. But the first thing I know right out of the gate is I actually have something that doesn't have anything to do with my sabbatical, but I have kind of a standing 9:30 Zoom with one of our Defend, Publish, and Lead clients. So I just left that alone because I am not going to always be going to Ohio State on a Thursday. So I didn't want to move this particular client, and it's fine for me to do a client meeting. I will say this though, I'm consciously making this choice because to me, it really doesn't matter that I drive there and then I do a client meeting and then I actually start my real work down there. That part does not bother me. But I think this is a good conversation to think about, where you try to decide like what things can interrupt my sabbatical time and what things can't. In this case, this particular meeting is actually about using a project management system. So I liked this meeting on this day because it's going to help me think through some of the things I'm doing later in the day. So just putting that out there, that normally I would not allow any other kinds of things. I love Defend, Publish, and Lead. Of course, it's fabulous. I love it. But I would try to protect my time from that kind of work, and also my academic position kind of work, and really lean into the research and writing. But I left that one alone. After that, then I made a very loose schedule for myself, and I wanted, for people to see kind of how I'm thinking about how I'm using time. For the record, that particular day, I'll be there from 9:30 to about 6 o'clock. I'm only coming in to campus this one time during this particular week. I just had some things that could not be juggled. So I know I want to make the most of the time. So around 10, I'm going to check out my ID situation, see if I can make sure I have a working ID and I have a working email, because my next move is then to go to the library and make sure that I have library privileges, because I know one of the benefits to doing a sabbatical there from a past experience is that the library is gorgeous. It has tons of resources and a lot of things I can't get my hands on at my own library necessarily, or at least I have to wait for it. So I know my number one priority tomorrow is making sure all the pieces of my sabbatical work, my email, my ID, and that kind of thing. I already have office keys, all the other things I think I've figured out. But then I left myself then sort of a loose schedule between 10 a.m. and whenever I decide to eat lunch, to once I figure out those technical pieces to make sure I can get into the library and check things out, is then just to have the time to browse. That could be 2 hours, that could be 3, I don't know. I think I'm going to start with the book piece, because books are things that I could check out and take with me, that I might need to take with me for the week. Some of them I'll probably, depending on what I find, some of them I'll probably store them in my office at Ohio State. Some of them I'll take with me. I'm not sure. I don't even know what I'll find, but I do know that they're going to have a much deeper collection of physical books. And I know for me, some of the work I'm doing for this next project deals with narrative theory and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Project Narrative is there. So I'm guessing they have a pretty robust book collection on that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just, have some fun with that. I may get into the databases and start looking at some articles as well. If not, I might save that for another day. But then you'll see on my schedule, if you're watching on YouTube, I put a little note about having a fun lunch. All I mean by that is I did put one other limit on myself during the sabbatical. Of course, I can probably, bring a lunch or whatever, but with the commute, that sometimes will be challenging just because of, food storage and driving and all that. But one of the things I did put on myself is that I don't want to eat at any of the places that I have in my, or where I normally live. So by fun, I just mean something different. What that is, I have no idea. I have no plan. I did, because I do know several colleagues at Ohio State, and I also have some friends in the area. I do have it in my back of my mind to make a point to try to connect with people for coffee and all that. And I did do some of those reach outs. So the way that it will look is that, if I end up getting a coffee with someone or a lunch with someone, I'll just plop that on the schedule. So it's kind of loose in terms of times when things are happening, but I have it in my head, at least for tomorrow, that I'd like to do the researching, a little bit of researching and just browsing and looking before lunch. But then after lunch, I really want to dig into doing some looking at the sources I have and doing some writing. Those two things, maybe some of it'll be brainstorming. I honestly don't know. I do know in the Ohio State Library, just from past experience, there's two gorgeous reading rooms. One is sort of the old school one with the dark green lights that you see, kind of in movies about academic libraries. And then the other one is a more like, big windows, modern looking room. They're both great. I wrote in both of those the last time I was there. So, I'll have some fun picking that out. And in terms of generation, what I'm actually going to write or focus on, I honestly don't know. I think my very loose goal for tomorrow is just to see what I find and then to look back on some notes about my project and kind of just dig into it for the first time, because I haven't looked at a lot of the material I'm doing. I also really want to look at what I had initially sketched out as sort of some of the goals for my new book on writing project. So I know I'm going to do that. At some point, I will need a cup of coffee because I'm a caffeine junkie. So I know I will need that. And I figured at that point, I'll lug everything back to the office and have a little bit of time in the office there before 4 o'clock department talk. So one of the reasons I picked this day to go down is that there is a department talk that I want to go hear, and it is being facilitated by Jim Phelan, who's the director of project narrative. So just in general, I have been looking too to see what department events are happening so I can look ahead and plan my days for days that are days that things are happening down there. So I hope this gives some idea of what I'm thinking about when I'm trying to plan out, doing a sabbatical where I'm actually going somewhere for a day. Most weeks, I'm going to try to shoot for a more ideal scenario where I'm down there for a day, I stay overnight, I'm down there for a second day, and really kind of lean in for 48 hours on everything I can possibly do down there. But tomorrow, and just the way that it worked out for this week, I have just very loose goals. I just want the sheer experience of just enjoying not being on the clock, being allowed to just look around. I'm actually going to go in the stacks and look at the narrative books. If hopefully that's how it will play out, we'll see. I might make a couple of follow-up pictures or something to go with this particular episode. But just one other final thing that I'm thinking about in terms of working is that one of the things with sabbaticals I find that our clients find difficult to do is actually relax. They tend to go the other way, meaning I only have this limited time where I've all, space to get this work done. And I've got to go, go, go. I've really encouraged our clients who are on sabbatical right now to resist that urge and to just slow down for a minute. We only get one of these shots every so often. Some of us will only get one sabbatical. I've been lucky. I'm now on my third. This is one of my arguments for working at some comprehensive universities and sometimes private schools. Sometimes they offer some benefits that, just are not available. I'm not governed by a union per se, or all the things like that. So I know for me that third time around, I can say that it's okay to take the time to be a little bit slower. But one of the things that hopefully is coming out in this series is that I'm a little bit more intentional about how I'm able to use time and not panic so much. So I hope that this has been really helpful for you, and I really thank you for listening to these bonus episodes on real life sabbatical. So more will be coming, and happy writing.